guys. Hi there. Welcome to this Facebook Live on CBC News. I'm Salima Shivji. So now, where am I sitting? On stage, obviously. I'm on stage today at the Cirque du Soleil tent here in Toronto for the Volta show, which is already playing here in Toronto. Usually the seats around me are full of people. Today, the stage is empty for now, but in just a few minutes, there's going to be a rehearsal for the BMX riders. And that's the thing with this Volta show. It is obviously the Cirque du Soleil's 41st show. In how many decades have they been around? Since the mid-80s. So they have to reinvent things here and there. And the special thing about this Volta show is that it includes BMX riders. It's part of the spectacular finale of the show. And we actually have one of the stars of that finale with us right now. This is Stephen Moxley. I'm just going to interrupt you for a second, Stephen. I think we may have lost sound. Oh no! This is what happens with Facebook Live's technology. It's a beautiful thing. But they are working on it, and it looks like we're back, so welcome back. Sorry about the technical issues. This is what happens, right? So you're talking about what it looks like, what sort of that spectacular finale. A lot of people are pumped about the BMX riding extreme sports being part of Volta. What can people expect?
Craziness, very much. Like a lot of stuff going on at once, obviously. We try to make sure that there is somebody on stage at all times during BMX. That way it just looks way crazier, way wilder, of course.
Go ahead, yeah.
And so in doing so, we'll try and have 2, almost 3 riders, if not more if we can, literally hitting a jump all together. So it's very, oh, okay, they didn't die. Good job, good job.
So my question for you is, how do you coordinate stuff? So when you're out there, there's a set routine, but do you try to change things up every night and try to make it exciting and different for you guys?
So for us, the choreo stays generally the same, but the tricks in themselves is what will change up, and that's how we keep it fresh for ourselves, because we can't switch too much choreo, because we really will, you know, it gets a little too dangerous, because if I change where I go that night and this other guy is used to going to that spot, that's going to cause the collision. So those things we don't change, but obviously trick-wise, we do what we want when we want to do it, and that way it feels fresh and fun at all times for us.
So you were talking about performing in front of your hometown crowd. So what are the kind of tricks that you like to do to sort of wow the crowd, wow your friends that are in the crowd?
For me, it's like tail whips, and that's where you spin the bike around underneath you, and then me and another guy, he's also another local from here, we love flipping. So anytime we can be upside down, we're going to try and be upside down, as long as it's safe for the show.
So tell me about, obviously BMX riders haven't really been a traditional part of the Cirque du Soleil scene. We're not used to seeing that. We're used to seeing the acrobatics, we're used to seeing the aerials. What was it like for you guys, like your BMX team, sort of coming into this show and joining the others, the other acrobats? Was it a learning curve? Definitely
a learning curve. A lot more challenging, because BMX riders are not used to so much structure. We tend to do what we want when we want. So being told that you have to be on stage to ride now, or you have to run a pattern this specific way, was very headbutty at first. But everybody slowly just started to realize, like, it's okay, it will work out in the long run. So now that, you know, we've been going for 8, 10 months, whatever it's been all together, things have slowly just started working out. Everybody's able to go, okay, BMX can be here, they're going to do what they need to do, and it will all work out in the end. Very cool. We actually have a question from a listener. It's Ben Birin Yihao. I'm sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly, but Ben wants to know, do you land those high jumps with hurting yourselves?
Say again, sorry.
Do you when you land those high jumps, I guess, are you hurting yourselves? Do you ever hurt yourself?
Oh, we get hurt quite often, obviously. It's a dangerous sport. There's not mats to crash on all the time. We do practice at local spots where there is sort of training facilities so that you can practice, and if you fall, it's not so bad. But most times when you jump, it's not gonna hurt right then and there. It's if something really goes wrong, and God forbid, we try to make sure that that is not something that we're doing. We're not just going into it without the ability to land it. It's not just hope and pray. It's, I know how to do this, it should go well. 99.9% of the time it does.
How much of, I think people want to know a bit about the behind the scenes and how you prepare for the shows and stuff. I suppose my question is, I guess, what do you eat before a show?
I'm probably not a great, actually I don't think any of us are great examples. We tend to just eat what we want, and for us BMX is like a lifestyle, so we just play on our bikes all the time. Even backstage before we're about to come riding, we're just doing tricks on the ground, and that's how we prepare. The better you feel on your bike, the better you will ride.
Very cool answer. So we have another question from somebody watching. Dania Condezo wants to know, how many years of experience do you have, Steve?
I've been riding since I was 15, and I'm almost 30 now, so it's nearly half of my life, roughly 15 years.
Pretty fantastic. So how has all of that experience, what has that brought you to what you bring to the stage here for Volta?
I find for me, obviously, it helps me with awareness, really knowing where everybody is, what everybody's doing at once, because obviously I've ridden many places with many different people, so I can really see what's going on slightly quicker sometimes than somebody who's very new to it and can't. Yo, Moxley, you have to go on stage.
Uh-oh. See, we've been stealing Steven for his rehearsal. We grabbed him.
What up, guys?
Oh, now we have a replacement. Isn't this fantastic? So Steven's gonna go do some tricks. He really has to rehearse because we have to get him ready for tonight's show. But we do have Jeffrey here, Jeffrey Whaley. So you're the BMX team captain. Yeah. What does that mean? What does the captain do in this show?
A captain is not like a coach or whatever. I'm just making sure that all the guys know what we got have to do for tonight, like on stage. If there's a call, if there's any change on the show, if we need to work on something, if they have any information that has to get to the guys, I'm the one who's going to tell them like this information, but I'm not the one who's going to tell them what to do or how to do it, which is a difference between the coach and the captain. So my job is just to keep the guy in touch with any information in the show or in the company or whatever. An
important role, obviously.
Yeah.
So we did get a question actually from Dania, who was asking Steven how many years of experience he had with BMX riding. How many years do you have?
I think Moxley has a little bit more than me. I think he started riding when I was born. No, I'm just kidding. I started riding like a little bit late. I started 15, I'm now 21, so I've been riding for 6 years, which is a little bit less than Moxley, but obviously we're just riding together and progressing, and I'm just trying to make it with the boys.
That sounds cool. What's it been like for you joining this Volta cast and getting involved with the Cirque du Soleil? What's that been like for you?
It's been a crazy experience. Obviously the creation was like a 6 month of creating the show and stuff was really hard. A lot of time to work, a lot of waiting. It's like filming a movie pretty much. But so far it's really cool. I really enjoy doing shows. It's really different from the contest scene, which is you go from a country to another like for a week and you can do a contest with your friends. And now it's more like we're more like a team, riding all the time together and doing shows every night. But it's really fun. It's a different experience, and I really enjoy doing like the show in front of so many people every day. That's great. That's a crazy thing.
What a thrill, right? Yeah. So we do have another question as well from Francisca Lantier. She was also asking, because you mentioned you're 21, how old are most performers? She wants to know, and is there an age limit for having to do this?
There's no age limit. There's one guy who does rings, which is crazy acrobatic stuff. He's 37. If I'm right. But I would say the people are older than I expect. Us, we're pretty much a younger people in the show. It's around like 20 and 30 for most of people. But I expect a lot of young people when I came here because I didn't know what it was. But obviously there's more people with more experience. That makes a good show.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mix, right?
Yeah.
We do have another question now from Frances Rankin, and she wants to know how many female bikers are there in this show?
I think for our show it's a little bit different because we have a lot of extreme sport, which is not a lot of girls doing it. But we have, I think if I'm right, we have like 5 or 6 girls in the cast, and like like 45 guys, so there's a lot of guys in the show.
A lot more guys. And in terms of the BMX riders, it's all guys, right?
Yeah, we are 5 riders on the show. We're now 7 because we needed backup because we got some guys injured. But it's only guys in the BMX, yeah.
How many women in general? Like when you were saying you go out to contests and you go out to things outside of the Cirque du Soleil scene, how many women are usually involved?
I would say it's not a very popular thing for women. There is woman competition and stuff, but I would say in the world, like girl that can't properly ride a bike on the ramp, because it's a lot of physics and it's hard, and it hurts when you crash. There's like around like 10 women in the scene that I know, but not much than that.
Yeah, it's not so popular with women. We have another question now from Dania Condezo. Dania, sorry, I think this is your second question. Dania, do you guys do anything or say something before you go on stage for luck? Like, do you have a ritual before you hit the stage?
Obviously, we warm up before we go, but I think it's saying to like talk a little bit about the show and just saying everyone have a good show and stuff, and like just being on a good vibe is the thing that we do. We don't have any ritual stuff. We don't have any wish lucky and clap or whatever. But we're just trying to be on a good mood before we go on the show. Yeah.
That's hard when you're doing a show every day, though.
Yeah.
You got to stay on that high.
On the 10th show on the Sunday night, it's pretty hard because you're really tired. But obviously, you left everything behind when you jump on stage. But it's not too bad. It's still fun to do.
How do you handle those days when you have double shows, right? You have the afternoon show and the evening show. What do you do differently on those days?
I try to don't go out the day a That's
smart.
One thing.
Smart.
Yeah.
Is a smart one.
Sometimes we do still, but obviously all I do is like I like better to not take a break between the show. I like to work out between the show.
Okay.
So I don't get in a sleepy mood.
Right.
Like
it kind of turns you off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm just trying to stay like activate and keep doing something between shows, because if not, I feel like I'm tired, and it's harder to after get back
up again. Yeah. For sure. Okay, we have one last question, because I know you have to go too. Start rehearsing. We have one from Aiden Campos, who says, "Guys, great show." So a bit of a compliment there, and he also wants to know, what do you fear when you're performing?
Thank you very much. And the biggest fear I would say is I think it's personal. The biggest fear is to crash on stage, not because we're gonna get hurt, but because we know that people came to see a show and they expect good thing and they expect perfection, and this is what we want to give to the audience. And I think our biggest fear is probably to crash on stage, because it's when you crash, it's stopped right away, and it's really hard to act like you didn't crash, because obviously everyone's looking at you, and it's obvious that you crashed. So I think our biggest fear is to not deliver a good show to the people, because we know that like everyone expects a good show. And
also, it's so inspiring for the audience as well. I'm sure there are a lot of little boys and girls watching you guys going, oh, I'd love to do that as well. So you have that pressure as well.
Obviously, it's a lot of pressure, but we're just having fun, and we like to show what is our sport, because it's the first time that something like that is happening, a show with a BMX this big. So we just enjoy to show the world what is our sport. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much, Jeffrey, for talking to us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to watch you doing some tricks now, right?
We're going to go warm up and practice some stuff for tonight.
Okay, fabulous.
So, thank you very much. Have a good one.
Just a reminder for people who are joining us, we are at Cirque du Soleil's Volta stage. Obviously, they're performing in Toronto for the next little while until November. We are continuing. We're going to have an interview with the star of the show in just a little while, but let's take a look maybe at a little bit of the training and the rehearsal and see what they're about to be doing. We're going to take a look at Jeffrey and Steven. Hopefully, they'll be doing some cool tricks to wow us. That's their cue. They're listening to me. more, we want more. All right, I think that's a lull in their rehearsal, so we're going to continue. They're going to be keeping on going behind us because BMX is sort of the highlight of this show. I think for a lot of people it's a spectacular ending, but of course there's a great storyline to Volta, and we do have the main man, shall we say. He's going to come on out and join me. Do you want to sit here, Joey?
Yeah, sure.
This is Joey Arrigo. He plays the main character in Volta. So Joey, for people who haven't seen the show, there are very few of them, I know, but tell us what the story is about and what you go through in the story of Volta.
The story of Volta is it's a really incredible story that first and foremost, like, it really brings our entire audience in, and I think people leave our show learning something or feeling something within themselves. It's a story about a man who's kind of boxed himself into a part of his life that, because of circumstance and the influences he has around him, he's been created to be this person, and he realizes that he doesn't want to be that person anymore. He wants to be the person that he was truly meant to be on the inside. As we all feel at points in life, you know, we all want to feel like we're still that child, the person inside us that we wanted to be when we were that young kid. We want to go back to that, and we want to honor that and truly be who we want to be. So it's a story of really finding your true self and finding self-acceptance and self-love.
Such an important message, and I think the thing with Cirque du Soleil that a lot of people think is really special and really different is the focus on the narrative, the focus on the story. So as a performer, how do you come at a role like this with that story in mind and bringing that story to life?
Well, it's very much easier said than done, and there was a lot of work with character analysis that we did during the creation of this show, but it's simply being on this stage and reacting to those around me and feeling the energy of the audience and telling this story from a true place. You know, I don't need to put on a front and act all day. You know, I need to feel real emotions and tell a true story, because, you know, at one point in my life, at a few points in my life, I've definitely felt like that, and everyone has. You know, so I think if I can pull that from myself to tell this story, it'll come across and everybody will really feel what I'm feeling.
Perfect. Just going to reset here for people who are just joining us. We're on the Cirque du Soleil stage for the Volta show, which is performing in Toronto at this point in time. It's already been to Gatineau, it's been to Montreal as well. We're talking to Joey Arrigo. He is the main character in the Volta show, but a big part of the Volta show is the BMX riding. I think a lot of the extreme sports that have been incorporated into stuff that you not usually used to the Cirque du Soleil, focusing on this crazy extreme stuff. Woo? Oh my gosh, that's my fear. He'll be fine.
Nobody panic. He's all good. He's up.
It's best to do that in rehearsal as opposed to on the performance, which is why they rehearse, obviously. Yes. So for you as a performer, an acrobat, a circus performer, how did you feel like seeing this element incorporated into this cool show?
Well, I mean, extreme sports, the word extreme speaks for itself. I think a lot of people would categorize Cirque du Soleil itself as very extreme acrobatics, so I think it just goes hand in hand. The reason that they wanted to bring extreme sports into this show was to really punch up the storyline and punch up how strong we wanted to tell this story. I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw this BMX act, top to bottom, it was last February while we were still in rehearsals. I didn't expect that I was gonna cry. Like, I was watching it and this is so beautiful. It was gorgeous, you know, and like, wow. you wouldn't think that watching extreme sports, you know, it would really bring a tear to your eye, but, you know, we've brought this amazing art form, I'm gonna call it now.
Yes, absolutely.
We brought it to a stage, and, you know, we've incorporated it into Cirque du Soleil's already amazing atmosphere, and I'm super blessed to be a part of this show, and, you know, the fact that Cirque was able to, you know, kind of take this risk in being like, is this gonna work? You know, I'm so happy that I'm part of this success.
That's so great. That's really exciting. We have a couple of questions actually from some people out there watching. Somebody who's watching from Fiji, Setareki Rakuro, says, is it possible for you guys, them, to showcase their talents here in the Pacific, like in Fiji? So what are the plans for touring?
I mean, the sky is the limit, really. Like, Cirque du Soleil is all over the world. at all times. So you know what? It is possible that Volta will one day go to Fiji, because I definitely want to go there. But,
he's going to make it happen.
Yes,
it's going to happen.
Of course.
And there's another one, similar vein. Dustin Charbonneau is actually saying, will it come to Alberta? So a lot of people excited about the show want to see it. So in terms of rest of Canada touring plans.
Absolutely, it's definitely on the table. I mean, I know we're going to be within North America for the next couple years. So Alberta, I mean, it's gorgeous out there, so I'd love to meet you there too.
What is it like for you as a performer when you do go to different cities? Like, and how do you, I guess, feed off the crowd in different areas? How is it different in Montreal, per se, compared to Toronto, for example?
Well, I will say that the crowds in Montreal were incredible because of the pride of Montreal and having Cirque du Soleil there. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Toronto crowds are definitely very passionate about what they're seeing, and they definitely have a very strong artistic eye because there is so much of a huge arts community here in Toronto. So I take that with a grain of salt by knowing how I'm from Toronto, and I know how I would watch a show, and even if I wasn't standing up and screaming and hooting and hollering, that I would really enjoy this performance. And you know, it's not so much that there's a disconnect, it's the fact that they're enjoying us and respecting us, and I'm able to really respect that. I love that.
That's nice, nice sentiment. So we have another question from Corinne, yes, and this is a great one. She says, ask you, Joey, when you decided you wanted to be in Cirque du Soleil. Did you see an ad or did you want it all along? Because you have been in another show as well, in Casa.
Yes.
So what was that moment for you? Had you always dreamed to join Cirque du Soleil?
Yes, and I'm not gonna lie, I was 5 years old. I was 5 years old and my parents had a VHS of one of Cirque du Soleil's first shows. And I am a dancer and an acrobat. As a 5-year-old, I believed I was a contortionist. There was a contortion act in that show that really, really inspired me. And I said, I want to be on that stage one day. I want to be a part of what that show, or what Cirque du Soleil brings to a stage. And coincidentally, when I joined CUSA 3.5 years ago, one of the artists from that VHS was the creator of CUSA. So it was kind of like a little small world story.
How did you feel when that?
I mean, dream come true, really. It was, you know, my one goal as a professional performer was to be a part of this company, and now that I've done that, the sky's the limit. We keep on going, and I'm loving growing with this company.
That's amazing. Corinne also adds a second question. Did you go to Cirque du Soleil school? Like, what was your training like?
There are artists within our show that did the full circus school in Montreal or Quebec City. I personally grew up as a dancer my whole life, and I was trained in Russian ballet. And I think that's the most amazing thing about Cirque du Soleil, is that we're all professional, well-trained performers at what we do, and we all come from different artistic backgrounds and cultural backgrounds. So I think from being in this company, I've grown so much, not only as an artist, but as a person. It's incredible.
I'm going to actually pick up a question from we had previously that I asked Jeffrey. Aiden Campos had actually asked, what was the biggest fear when performing? So I want to ask you the same question. What's your biggest fear when you go out on stage? You're the main character here. What do you fear when you're out there?
Well, there is that fear within me that, you know, maybe I'm having a day where the feelings that I'm trying to portray are not coming across to our audience and our story's not reading. That's a day not well done for me, but I really feel that those days when I can sit into my body and really tap into my own emotions to tell this story is a really great day. On top of that, there's lots going on here. There's lights, there's this huge grid up here, there's all of this apparatus for the BMX. You know, God forbid something were to happen, but I don't really worry about that because our technical protocols are pretty squeaky clean, so it's not really something I have to worry about. I would say the biggest thing is sudden injury. Yeah. You know, suddenly rolling an ankle or suddenly, you know, breaking something on stage, and not so much the fact that it's in front of an audience, but just the fact that I wouldn't be able to do my job for a while. Right. That's my biggest fear.
Of course. So that also echoes a question we got from Arlene Costley, who also said, are you ever scared of performing? So it's sort of the same sort of idea.
I'm going to say I'm never scared of performing. I love performing every day.
So no nerves when you're about to head out at like a minute before the beginning of the show? Any butterflies?
Butterflies is a gorgeous way to put it, but I would say it's an adrenaline rush. Okay. It's an adrenaline rush, and it's, you know, it's when you know it's time to go on stage, you know that it's game time. And you know, there's the moment right before I do my solo dance performance, and I always like to tell myself something in my head, right in that moment, how I'm feeling. And some days, most days, it's just, let's dance. Let's dance. Like, don't think, like, stay strong, do this, do that, careful of this. You know, let's dance. It's the thing that I love to do, and it's the thing I've been doing the longest in my life. Let's have fun. Let's dance.
It's all about the fun, right?
Yeah.
The stage it's a fun stage. So just a bit of a reset. We are here at the Cirque du Soleil Volta stage. We're going to wrap up in just a few minutes. So if you have any last questions for Joey Arrigo, who's the star of the Volta show, send them in right away. I do have one last question for you, Joey. I just wonder, in terms of preparation for getting out there on stage, is there a certain thing that you always like to eat on the days that there are two shows, or what do you eat, and how do you prepare for those days when there are two shows on one day?
Very simply, all I eat is lots. This show it burns a lot of calories. There's a lot of running around. I have a lot of stage time. And I think rather than just the physical part of this show, the mental part and, you know, tapping into my emotions and telling a story, oh man, your brain eats half your food. It's crazy. But other than that, I love
pasta sort of thing, like carbs?
High carbs, high protein, making sure I'm getting lots of, you know, vitamins, fruit, vegetables. Just, you know, a lot of people think, like, with diet and everything that, you know, it's about what you're not putting in your body. It's about what you need to, and if you're fueled, you're all good. Other than that, I do like to get up somewhat earlier in relation to when we start work. I like to do something during the day, whether it's a bike ride through the city, shopping, this, that, taking care of some things. I can't just wake up and come here. I need to do something to wake up my brain and keep myself active all day so that my blood's flowing and I'm ready to do a great show.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I would be resting, basically, but you know, I'm different, a bit lazier. We do have one last question. We'll sneak this one in from Dustin Charbonneau. Is there any way, Xbox, is there any way to join the performance? He wants to know.
Is there any way to join the performance? Well, if you're ever looking for a job in Cirque du Soleil, you can go online to cirquedusoleil.com/jobs, and it'll tell you everything you need to know there, whatever your discipline is, if you're a dancer, a musician, an acrobat, a BMX rider, anything. Submit in there, send your stuff online, and good luck.
Oh, I think, to clarify, Dustin I think was saying he's a boxer and he wants to know if he can join the performance. So now you know.
All right.
You can check it out, contact Cirque du Soleil, see what you can do and see if you can join one of the future performances. Volta is around till November 26th, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, great. And that feeling coming out in front of the stage and performing for people must be unbeatable, eh?
It's exhilarating, especially in my hometown.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Joey, for talking to us about this.
Absolutely.
And to everybody here at the Volta stage in Cirque du Soleil, if you guys want to catch it, if you're in the Toronto area, you have until the end of November. Get your tickets. I don't know if rehearsal is wrapping up, but perhaps they're not. We'll be able to see a few more tricks. But other than that, we're going to sign off from the Volta stage. Thanks so much for joining us, guys.